You're just in time. Saved you a seat for the Pillars of Man, your number one podcast for the best conversations you could find aimed at male self improvement. And you cannot have a male self improvement podcast without touching upon the topic of masculinity. More specifically, what I'm sure pains you as much as it pains me is the term toxic masculinity. This sense of how evil and wrong and bad and terrible masculinity can be, though it is a bit vague when you first hear it. It's pretty all inclusive. You hear that word toxic and it just, okay, so we're talking about all of masculinity. What am I supposed to do nowadays in modern America for the present year of 2025? Just don't be masculine. Is that the solution, bro? Oh, yeah. Um, I guess the most core natural embodiment of who and what I am as both in terms of sentient consciousness and biological and chemical, neurological, existential being, really essentially telling guys, if you be a guy, you are being toxic, you are being poisonous to the world, to society, to other people, to the reality that you, of course, must go outside every single day and engage with. I'm gonna freeze it right there. Some of you might be looking at me like, well, bro, the way I live, I don't get out too much. That's, that's how I roll. That's fine. But even if it's not engagement with your external reality, the importance that I see in how you engage with yourself on a daily basis. Masculinity is all of it. It's everything. The way you are going to live in your own body and in your own head, and then the way that you in your mind would come across to the rest of the world. Masculinity, I do not believe, can be toxic. It seems that there has to be a separation there. I don't even really know where this term comes from. Now, I'm going to have to acknowledge when I go about my own daily life and I get out from my job, interacting with people, just, you know, going through my personal experiences of this society that, okay, we're all trying to find our own individual success in. And it doesn't really pop up. Maybe there's some subtext. Maybe very subtly you'll catch it from a certain person where it it it's kind of in the undertones of how they carry themselves, how they speak, and where their points land in any given conversation. But even that, for me personally, is pretty rare. I will then come home and mistakenly try to enjoy some internet before I sleep and go, before I resume my life. What do all the Zoomers say? All the Zoomers say in IRL before I resume the in real life part of my life. Being home here like this, I get to chill, vibe, do the pod. Great, and then also check out whatever I'm interested on the internet, YouTube and whatnot, news and topics I'm curious about. And one of them is definitely, yes, you guessed it, male self-development, masculinity, the meaning of man, men, male strengths and weaknesses, natural, psychological, emotional, spiritual, mental, and it's there. It's in these spaces I will find pockets and people ranting, kind of like this, arguing, debating, and going over how toxic masculinity really is. Now I'm going to return to the separation right off the bat. That just can't be a thing. It's I, it's a very bold statement for me to say impossible, but just about impossible. To be toxic has to be in relation to the individual human being. That's not just masculinity. To me, that seems like a humanity issue. You got great people and you got crappy people. Crappy people are definitely going to come across as toxic. Now, in the space, you could call it manosphere. That's kind of a specific space. If I could broaden this up, really just the bro spaces of the internet, were really anything related to men. I've heard some pretty stellar stuff on what happens when a man who is experiencing difficulty and struggle and challenge and he's at a point in his life where it's not helping him grow. It's supposed to, but in this example it's not helping him grow. It's kind of stagnating him. It's and it's really making him very miserable to stay in this kind of state where life is just always perpetually beating the crap out of you. Then that could produce this term toxic masculinity. And it's like I can agree more with this notion. A man that has given up, he's gotten very bitter. He's become very resentful of uh, kind of just everything because life is so brutal and so harsh on a daily basis. Um, Very addicted. You know, health can be in shambles. All sorts of right facets and parts of life that are really messing you up. And the longer that continues, well, then of course, it would. Just the human condition itself, it becomes so difficult to hope and to see a brighter tomorrow, to have a future for yourself that you actually want to go towards. And it is the absence of this that can absolutely make a man, yeah, just really mean, kind of like a butthole, just super negative, the Debbie Downer vibes, very pessimistic, cynical, etc., etc., etc. Where I draw the line, though, is I would say that still doesn't have anything to do with masculinity itself. That has everything to do with, once again, a human being that is having a difficulty coming to terms with exactly how they're supposed to live and what they're supposed to do, and being able to accept that burden and then throwing themselves head first, really diving into the tasks, the actions, and the activities to attempt to rise above it. The great struggle of life. What I have um, come to acknowledge as, for us in the 21st century, and I will specify a little bit more right here for how about millennials and down. I mean, Men of all ages will be able to relate. That is for sure. But maybe at the at on the front lines, so to speak, would be millennials, Zoomers, alphas, betas. The betas will be joining soon, and I dub it the modern male plight. I mean, it's really just if you are trying to self improve, trying to be successful, trying to be better, do better, have better in life. Oh, brother, you are headed right for the modern male plight. It's just all the difficulties and challenges any man is going to have to experience for, for a chance at the best quality of his own unique individual life. Masculinity is instrumental for this. In fact, I'm going to argue for tonight, it is absolutely indispensable. The origin of it kind of boggles my mind a bit. I mean, really, like, what's going on here? It's definitely pretty new. And was it, did it come from politics? Was this an angle that was weaponized for whatever specific agenda on either side? Okay, or whatever political party. I really don't know. Is this really just one massive psyop? Okay. Do we have some, shadowy elites in the background trying to run the show in how men carry themselves? Think, behave, talk, what they do, etc., etc., etc. That is, I can feel my tinfoil hat growing, but regardless of what you believe, the true origin of toxic masculinity is, it doesn't even really matter. I mean, I'm curious though. You feel free to let me know down in the comments below. But if you're with me on that, bro, masculinity, naturally, inherently, intrinsically, just like from nature, in terms of human beings, in terms of male human beings, it is not toxic. And I say that because masculinity for me is an ideal. It is a pursuit that is much higher than the actual man himself. Man, as a human being and as a creature, is capable of fostering and cultivating masculinity. In fact, at a certain point, it is pretty biological. You just look at kind of, I'm trying to speak for the majority, just what you would find most commonly for boys is that we are pretty hands-on. It involves a lot of our bodies, motion, and movement, physically speaking. You have young males from single digits really into puberty and even into late teens. You're gonna have them. It's not that we can't do it, but so many of us to be put in a room and to be demanded to sit there motionless. Okay, maybe save the hand. Right? Are you taking notes? Okay, I heard that every single day in school, and hour after hour after hour, in order to absorb and acquire information. Again, modern society deemed most important for children. I'm just gonna cut that right off. That is a whole different podcast episode. And so, yes, there could be some difficulties there. This is what I mean by nature running its course through any male human being. That's going to propel him towards certain tendencies. more action oriented, being outside, more of the experience of it, not necessarily the conceptualizing of it. And as that continues in a man's life, that's magnificent. That's absolutely brilliant, because any guy trying to chase his own version, it's going to be different, because we were all, different men. We were all our own individual men, a very specific set of experiences filtered through our own perceptions. Okay, and then further magnified by the caveats of personality, characteristic traits, just um likes and dislikes, loves and hates, stuff like this, things you got no problem with and things you're absolutely terrified of. Now, you can find unifying commonalities, but that this kind of, cocktail mixture of the mind, the body, and the soul is going to be at least slightly different for every man. So, me operating in my most masculine version possible could look completely wildly different from your ultimate masculine version of yourself. And nonetheless, it's still the ideal that needs to be, it's the attempt to reach that. Okay, bro, you, any man thinking to himself, I want my life to be as fulfilling, or no, now we're getting to like very common themes, really, for human beings in general, but when applied to the male human experience, we're all looking for fulfillment, looking for, it could be career, but I prefer to lean into lifestyle, a, a way of daily life that you really care about. You just want to, whatever it is that, of course, two very basic conditions I got to apply here. I don't want anyone running away with this. Okay, so Kumo's enabling me to know I am not enabling anybody for anything. I'm saying don't let it harm you. Okay, like, come on, man, like, keep it healthy, and don't let it harm anyone else, because bro, it's going to be really hard to self-improve if you are imprisoned. So it's not messing with you, you're not messing with anybody else, you're good to go. And that's a whole lot to do right there. That is still a very vast space of options and choices and decisions to make in life. As a guy trying to figure out the process of living this very fulfilled life, I want an experience in which every single day, at the very least, it will be made up, okay, of at least a few things, okay? Bare minimum, at least one thing every single day for however long, however much free time you could give it on any given day of the week, that I really want to do this. I love this. This is the bee's knees for me. It allows me to express myself. It brings me peace. I enjoy I enjoy trying to grow this art form, this skill, this craft, this expertise, knowledge, and wisdom, this muscle, power, and strength. And it's so much more. Those are really, really, I intentionally threw some pretty general terms down, and it gets so much more specific than that, because Any guy trying his best, just trying really hard in life, that in and of itself is a skill. That I know how plain it sounds. Oh yeah, yeah, kind of cliche too. Oh yeah, try your best in life, but to even do that is most likely going to develop into the challenge of a lifetime. That is enough. That is enough fuel, so to speak. The way I see this, to ignite a man into action, into masculine action for multiple lifetimes. In fact, it's a process chasing masculinity. And I mean, this is why I no, this is why it can't be toxic, because to pursue it is not even, I'm not so sure that process can be done in a single lifetime. Maybe. And I do believe God created, the Christian God created all of this. So with that in mind, and that is yes, that gives this a religious filter, but it just makes a little bit, it it goes smoother in my own brain when I think about it like this, because that is an eternal process, it devised by an eternal being, which means it's not even necessarily something to finish. Like, you trying to be as masculine as you can in life, that there's no finish line for that, bro. Because it's almost as if you and I are to look at it as an ideal, this is something I'm going to try to get to. This is something I'm going to try to become. I I have so much to do. I have so many abilities and capabilities to exercise as a man and as a human being in order to get to this higher state of existing in one's own most masculine form. So, brother, what exactly would that look like? To try to push it as far as I can. I mean, so if you were to return to the fundamentals at this point and get to the basics, I mean, this is your physicality, your physical health. This is your mentality. That is perspective, framing, perception. This is the concepts that you understand that make up how you look at the world, right? How any man, how he sees people, how he will think about ideas, and it just his ability to be able to form his own opinion, you know, and his values and his own core beliefs, right? And if there's another one, that would probably be some sort of emotional pillar, right? Just impulse control, having that self control, having the self awareness to try and implement more virtue in life, that moral standard, trying to be a good man, trying to elevate past that, you know continually chasing this masculine ideal and trying to get even further past that into being a great man. And then last but absolutely not least, spirituality, a higher power. For me, that's Christianity, religion, a a an open mind to what cannot be seen, what doesn't have, so much of just these. these ideas, these beings, this all of this religion itself, kind of founded on the intangible, right? Where it's more belief and it's faith. And that's kind of before I veer too far off of this. That that is I incredibly enlightening, very grounding for a man. It can be when you put all of these things. I mean, that's four pillars, and there's definitely way more. I'm just trying to condense. So I mean, when you have these four and you got your all right, physical pillar, mental pillar, emotional pillar, spiritual pillar, all right, and these are the four base columns for any man to rest his entire existence on. And he would simply make the effort to try and pursue, optimize, and maximize. Even, you know what? Before that, explore. There's so much to do and to see in this world, to go outwards and interact with your external reality, people and places and things and jobs, college and uni, the whole career pathways and fields, of your life's work, of whatever you're trying to do, and hobbies and uh, side quests and whatnot. I mean, that's to go outwards, and there's so much. I just believe that to go inwards into yourself, it is equally vast. If it's not equal, it's bigger in here. The self discovery and self actualization, in which you are attempting to really uncover the deepest depths of your own mind, your own heart, soul, body, like who you are and what you stand for, bro. What are you really trying to do in this world? I'm altruism, and for the sake of a utopia of some sort, trying to leave a lasting impact in this world and helping others and whatnot. That's awesome. That is incredible. But it's not even it. It doesn't have to be. I'm not telling men to be selfish in pursuing their own highest ideal of masculinity. I'm saying that that pursuit has to go above everything else, save God. God would be God would be the ultimate ideal, chasing this higher ideal of, well, what's the best kind of masculinity I could bring out of myself, and then you apply that to the world, and that is going, I would argue that it's inevitably going to help elevate you in all sorts of areas of your life, depending on how seriously you take it and in what way. I mean, well, what would be waiting way above that would be God. So I'm a big believer that any man, he's not going to be able to help anyone. He's not going to be able to impact anything until he helps himself. So then, what better way could there be but to but for him to take the time and self-reflect? What is it that I want to bring out from my own potential, you know, from my own actions with my own bare hands? What kind of life is it that I really want to live that would help me be as masculine as I could be? It's and and it's not some sort of superpower that you have to go and find, like some holy grail or something like that. Oh, let us, bro, let us. band together and embark on this epic journey to go and find our own masculinity. No, you haven't. You're born with it. You're born with it. And see, what I see here is to be naturally born with masculinity as a male. That's kind of a blessing and a curse, because that means it can be pursued and grown. It can be nurtured and prospered, or it can decay. It can lie dormant and neglected and ignored. It can be allowed to wither and shrivel. It goes both ways. What it doesn't do is masculinity doesn't really stay the same in all of us as men. And what I mean by that is you are either utilizing it in a way that is healthy. I like to call this, yes, inspired by God and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Going this way is to try and foster a sense of divine masculinity. The other way is no, it's not toxic. It's simply the absence. A man would forfeit it, so to speak. And I mean, right here, I would like for you to think for yourself, just real quick. I mean, um, you know, a quick glance as you rest on this thought right here. What would that look like, though? Okay, if it isn't the pursuit of this healthy divine masculine, then what would the absence of it look like? Would you agree with me then that this man, he would probably have a difficult time engaging in a confident manner, in a way where he will be heard, and his ideas, they will be, whether well or ill, that definitely depends. It's very contextual, but that they are received nonetheless by the world around him. You know, would he be? Wouldn't he be frail? Kind of easily blown over, so to speak. In terms of physical prowess, not very dominating, and wouldn't put up much of a fight. It wouldn't want the fight. A no confrontation kind of guy, and you know just maybe the traditional accolades of a manly man. I mean, that's probably, I mean, this is what I'm getting at here is multiple centuries old. But a relationship, right? Oh, okay, he's that's his woman, that's his wife, and children, his own family. Someplace where he, house or not, but just a humble abode where they all live together, and some sort of a job that he's holding down to support all of this. Very traditional, classic. And so the absence of that, of masculinity, would be to have none of those things. Now, if you have a guy who fits my description so far, but he is in active pursuit of the ideal, that he is not willing to stay in this state of the masculine absence. He would try to do more with himself in life so that he could create these outcomes in life. Try and yeah, talk to a woman and secure a date. Oh, there's so much that's a whole episode, multiple episodes on its own of how trying to find success in really hey, how you doing tonight? I saw you from over there. I thought you'd look lovely. Would you like to? Okay, don't use that. That's not a pickup line. That's me iterating an example right here. Okay, definitely. Uh, this is male self improvement. Okay, maybe in the future. All right, dating game from this pod. Oh God. Um, and oh, I don't want to be so fragile. I do want to be able to hold my own in some sort of physical situation of danger, or was it confrontation or altercation. And he would start lifting, start working out, start minding his health, try to eat better. Okay, okay, real we all know about this stuff. We all the typical, very typical self-improvement advice to for male betterment. And yet that man is in a state of, he's undergoing an active state of transformation. Where is he headed? My argument is towards that higher sense of himself and masculinity. Masculinity because he is a man, because he's a guy, but born as the male sex. This is what I mean by it happens naturally if you're willing to pursue it. When you're not, because this ideal of masculinity, and this is again, I want this to reinforce the biggest point tonight, that the whole toxic masculinity, it's BS. It's nonsensical. It can't be, because masculinity exists. It's outside of toxicity. You have a toxic man who's concluding choices and decisions to be toxic in this world. That isn't masculinity. Masculinity is a vision. It is, I keep saying this word ideal, but it's because it is something that you think about for your own benefit as a man. And I just want to say real quick, men benefiting is the world benefiting. Society benefits. Women benefit. Children, of course, benefit. Right? Really, just this whole reality we are all collectively experiencing together on planet Earth gets better when men are able to benefit personally from chasing, pursuing, cultivating, and fostering that ideal right there, because it leads you. That's why I say ideal. Now, masculinity is not the final. Now, this is just my humble opinion. Like, oh, well, what is the true origin source? Where would masculinity go? Where is that headed? That would be God for me. It's headed up towards the Almighty. Yes, scripture, biblical teaching, and all of that, but without the religious filter. And I know Christians that would even say it's not even like that. It's more of a Christ filter. Okay, but my point though is trying to attain it. It forces any guy to exercise his own capabilities as a human being. It runs the cogs in your head. You're in this situation. You don't want to be in this situation. What will you do, brother, to try to get out of this situation? This is a rite of passage. There isn't any other pathway that you could take in life if you're looking for the very best quality. It is an elevation of all of you, bro. You try for all of it. No, not all at once. Definitely not all at once. That is not how it works. But when you create the plan, okay, really, what is it that I'm trying to do here? And then you do go. You take it one step at a time, 1 hour at a time. It on just in one single 24-hour interval. And from there, one day at a time, it compounds, it builds. Where it leads you is in a great life. See, that any guy is capable of it, because that has nothing to do with the external world. That's my take. Sure. I mean, and I see it too. So it's, I'm more than willing to have an open conversation with anyone that would say, no, masculinity should be revolving around the collection of resources, of money and power and status and respect and admiration from people, the accomplishments and the accolades and the achievements of, look how well I did this, look at how many people I beat to do this, look, etc., etc. You see, those are all, for me, those are all byproducts, conclusions, symptoms of masculinity being exercised. But the true gift is that it simply has a man operating in his own greatest and most natural form. That is the manifestation of the masculine ideal. That right there is pure masculinity in and of itself. To that my version and your version and his version of masculinity sits above us, so we can try and get up to it, so we can try and chase it, so that, if it's up here, I'm way down here. What would you do to try to elevate yourself high up enough that you're living in it? That is a connection of our most primordial, instinctual calling. In this way, that man already exists. He's already there. He's very real. And simply the space between the best you and the you now is what you would do. Why would any man? It's a lot. It's so much. We keep it real here at the Pillars of Man. Oh, it's a massive boatload of hard work. It's a whole lot of effort and concentration. You are willingly heaving your own life's greatest burdens on your own shoulders. Okay, like it ain't nobody's business. Okay, it's cool. I'll carry it. Here we go. Holy crap, this is really heavy. And doing that in life as if it was designed like this, as if this is how nature truly intended it to be, you will experience the effects of what happens when you try your very best to overcome that struggle. Okay, this motion forward into, the day after and the day after and the day after of you experiencing continual struggle and challenge and difficulty, that right there is that right there is the surefire path to your masculinity and the very best version of you, because the very best version of you must be masculine. They can't separate. I don't believe it's possible. If bro, if you're the four original pillars that I explained as a foundation for any guy to, do his best in life, that's, physicality, the mentality, the the emotions, and the spirituality. And when you really take all these things seriously and you get these things down pat on lock, you have a plan and you have actionable steps being taken towards exploring, towards figuring it out, towards finding out, towards experiencing all of it. Where does that lead you? That leads you to a reality that would have the potential in surpassing your wildest dreams. It can't be said. I couldn't say, no one can say. It's not possible to know because it must be lived. Like, who knows, bro? Who knows where it will take you? Who knows what's going to happen to you? All I'm promising you, all I'm guaranteeing is it won't be toxic. That destination can't be toxic because it it will lead you to a greater version of you. It will eventually take you to the greatest version of you. Men, us, okay, our fellow kings, you and I, trying to pursue and operating in the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can. That is the polar opposite of toxicity. I would say that's the solution. That's the cure. That is how evil is vanquished and eradicated. This is how the good and the pure and the innocent and the great are protected, provided for, upheld. That's why it's so important. And that was, my deep dive for tonight of how important it is for you too, bro. If you agree with me on any of this, and you're looking for a space that goes deep, super deep into everything related to male self-improvement, such as masculinity, you're in a great place because you're watching the Pillars of Man, your number one podcast for the best conversations you could find, aimed at male self-improvement, surrounding philosophy, masculinity, wellness, lifestyle. I'm your host, Kumo. I continue to reshape the modern male reality, giving any man who wishes to pull the very best out of himself a way to do that. Thank you so much for watching, bro. You like stuff like this? Hit that subscribe button for me. Give me a like, and hope to see you real soon for my next talk. Until then, take it easy. Take good care of yourself. And I love you so much. Peace.